Let's give you the best attack for every Town Hall level between Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 14, giving you the best and most useful tips to 3-starring with these armies. Now, of course, we have a low amount of people who are actually subscribed to the channel, so consider subscribing and ringing the bell if you want to see more high-quality content like this and never miss an upload. Now, the best troop at Town Hall 10 is the miners. I have a lot of experience with them. Pretty much the best 2 ways of using them is either using them in a KillSquad hybrid or using them in a queen charge. I prefer the queen charge, but this is another valid and viable option, since miners are still just incredibly strong anyways. Pretty much you're just going to create the funnel on one side though, in terms of using a kill squad, such as with the wall wrecker. Pretty much this is very specific to this attack, but of course in a sort of queen charge miners, all you really need to do is use a queen charge for a given area, mainly to remove the enemy CC, and then the siege barrack on the other side. That's pretty much the easiest way I can put it. But you do want to deal with the enemy clan castle as much as you can. So that way you get a good amount of value from that side, but not only that, but you make it super easy on yourself with the actual hybrid or miner portion. Then the next major thing is to send in your hogs and your miners. Typically, I don't recommend hogs at Town Hall 10, specifically because they're pretty easy to deal with, and also you can just split the pathing between hogs and miners, making them pretty much almost useless towards the end, but of course, to each their own. Just keep in mind that if you are going to bring hogs, you do need to make sure that you're prioritizing where these are, but you should be fine. Pretty much, if you are using a hybrid or just miners in general, try to heal up your hogs and your miners, or just your miners. It just works your way through. You should use one early, use one a little bit later as well, and towards the back end of the attack. You just want to make sure that your miners are easily getting through. A rage spell works incredibly well as well. It's probably one of the better spells if you don't need it, but of course, I wouldn't recommend bringing it just for the sake of bringing it. You should always try to heal through splash buildings though. So if there are 2 single infernos, that's a good plus, but if there are 2 multis, you need to prioritize them in terms of where you should heal. Splash is such a big thing and they will do so much damage to them. So make sure that you prioritize the splash buildings. Overall, you will never really have any sort of dull moments with this army. It's a really easy army, you'll easily get through it, and pretty much you will have a lot of miners towards the back end of the attack. Especially if you use the siege barrack, trust me, it is insanely strong. But of course, to each their own. Of course, you don't really need to have a CC, or not a CC, but a siege barrack to do this, but to each their own. This is still a viable army that you'll want to use. Now, to no one's surprise, BoWitch, or even Zap Witches, is incredibly strong. Both are interchangeable, and of course vary depending on the base. Usually Zap Witches is more preferred, but a BoWitch can also work extremely well. Really doesn't matter, witches are just really strong at Town Hall 11. Pretty much all you want to do is just spam. Either attack is pretty much spam. Zap Witches though, you'll have to zap out the infernos. Other than that, you can spam everything through. You can either bring a wall wrecker or a log launcher. You just want to have easy pathing to work yourself into the base. Makes it simple for your bowlers to get in, which is what you want to do. Your witches can go on either side, but you should have some going in. You should use a rage spell early on to push them through and to push them throughout the base, especially in the core. Having an early Grand Warden ability protects them from a lot of heavy fire. Even a heal spell can work really well with your bowlers and your witches. You can easily get through the enemy CC, and even the infernos on the back end, if they're set to multi, they really can't do anything to this army when you have so many bowlers and you have so many witches and just so many troops in the base. You can't stop it. It's really difficult to stop. So that is why BoWitch is incredibly strong still in the game, but of course Zap Witches is just as strong. It's just another alternative to the Zap Witches if you're tired of using it. The giant BoWitch is really fun, really spammy, but really, really good. Now here at Town Hall 12, Hybrid is really good. I feel like Hybrid is really at its peak at Town Hall 12. I use this a lot at Town Hall 12. But the Flame Flinger made it even easier, in my opinion. Pretty much, The basic rule is this. You funnel out one side of the base with the use of a queen charge. The other side is done with either a siege barrack or a flame flinger. This is a very common base, even on one of my accounts on the home village I'm running it. Other than that, it's a really simple attack to use. Pretty much, you just want to go in for the enemy clan castle. That's your main priority. Anything else is really extra with this attack, but the enemy clan castle should be the first priority. On the other side, the flame flinger can easily get a ton of value, and pretty much you really don't need to use a siege barrack anymore since the flame flinger exists, and it does the exact same thing without spawning troops, and it also breaks down walls. So the other thing that you've got is you can send in your hybrid. You really don't need to wait all too long. Once you create a solid funnel, send that stuff in. Don't wait. So as you're sending everything in, you should try to make sure that you use a heal spell and use the Grand Warden ability early. Typically, I recommend to go for the Town Hall with the Queen Charge, but if you haven't, use a Grand Warden ability to protect your hogs and miners through that Town Hall. But as you're working yourself through, if you have any leftover rage spells similar to the Queen Charge miners, then it works incredibly well. The other thing, though, that you should prioritize is if you have any healers, you could actually take advantage of that. Having any sort of healer swaps is really nice for your attack because it doesn't force you to use a heal at that exact moment. So it's a really, really good decision if that does happen. It may or may not happen, and it may or may not play a benefit. Other than that, you should be completely fine. The only mistake that you'll make with this is not having very concrete pathing with the use of your hogs and miners going together. So try to pay attention to the dead zone areas. It's gonna help you a lot, and you will be able to get a really simple 3-star. Personally, I know it's not as hard as people make it sound, and it's really good. Now, I know this is a Town Hall 14, but this attack just goes to show how strong the Super Bowlers are against a Town Hall 13, and even a little bit against a Town Hall 14. But of course, you should consider using my creator code Corrupt. It's greatly appreciated, and it helps support me and my channel. Now, in terms of this attack, the Flame Flinger is the newest addition. Typically, a Siege Barrack would be used, but the Flame Flinger is actually really good. Pretty much, the biggest thing, all you really need to do is use a Warden Walk on one side of the base. This is pretty easy to create and set up the funnel. And then on the other side, you use the Flame Flinger to create pathing from the outside to remove buildings from the inside. This makes it really easy when you send in your Super Bowlers and your Yetis into the base. Just makes it so much easier, trust me. But pretty much all you want to do is just create the funnel. That's all you're doing here. But once you've set a good funnel, start sending in your Yetis, use your wall breakers or super wall breakers, and then enter into the base. It's a simple way of getting in. You just want to make sure that you can pull the warden over so you don't necessarily make any sort of mistakes in terms of having the warden walk on his own. But you should try to make sure that you get everything to the core. That should be your main priority here. So you want to make sure that what you're doing is you're easily pushing everything in. You want to make sure that what you're able to do is use the rage spells as pretty much you're moving your way in. One early, one in the core, and then possibly one later on. Because you want to make sure that you're jumping across the rest of the base after you wall break in. Of course, you can bring in 3 jump spells if you want, but you should try to freeze up any key buildings like the Town Hall. And since the Town Hall Poison is present here, this is definitely a danger for a Town Hall 13. But this is a common teaser base, and you can easily work yourself through. The Royal Champion can come in on the back end of the base. It doesn't necessarily need to go in as you send in your troops, so try to save her for the back end. Same with her ability. You should easily be able to get through a lot of different structures, but this army is incredibly strong. Make sure that you've got very simple pathing as you work in. The biggest mistake that you will make with this army is by not funneling. So take the time to funnel, but don't take too long to where you will not be able to get through. This will mostly work against Town Hall 13s, and it can work against a Town Hall 14 as well. Now, Town Hall 14 has the Blizzard Lalo, probably the easiest Lalo, but also one of the best attacks in the game as a whole. So, you want to start off with the Lava Hound and Battle Blend. Your main goal is to look for chain value and removing something of value such as the Town Hall, the Eagle, maybe getting rid of the enemy CC, and possibly removing the enemy Clan Castle. Just kind of helps out a lot. But your main priority here, if you're going to be using this, should be allowing yourself to get as much value from your Blizzard. So try to time your invisibility spells every 4 seconds. Trust me, it will make a difference. But once you get rid of the core, as an example like here, you pretty much want to create a divot into that base. So it's pretty much a circle at this point, and the attacker is going to shave off part of that circle to make the Lalo pathing way easier. It's easy to predict Lalo pathing though, because you can just look at the air defense placement and kind of see where everything will go. The Sui hero consists of the king and queen, and then the royal champion can go adjacent and expanding what you're already getting with your king and queen. Pretty much you'll then go ahead and send in your lava limb. You can send it in groups such as here, where you send in multiple groups to deal with an entire compartment, and then having the lava hound tank. You should try to use an early Grand Warden ability if you've dealt with the Town Hall already. As you work yourself through, you want to use the haste spells to get to major key defenses, such as the Infernos, or you can either freeze them. If there are any scatters still up, try to prioritize them since they do a lot of damage. Freezing up key defenses and splash buildings is really good. And then as you work yourself across, just keep sending in groups of balloons. Can be 2 to 3 after the main initial part. You just want to make sure that everything works themselves together, makes it simple for you to easily move through. One of the biggest things that you will do, and unfortunately the biggest mistake, is a time fail. So try to send in your minions after a given area. I know it's a lot to keep track of, but if you don't want to get a time fail, try to use those minions after you use the balloons just a little bit late. That way, you can get the most from it, and you can easily get a 3-star with a lava loon such as this. Now, hopefully, this gives you an idea of exactly what I would recommend that you guys use, since I have used every single one of these at their desired Town Hall level. So consider subscribing and ringing the bell, and if you have not yet checked out my previous video on the best attacks for Town Hall 13, I would highly recommend checking it out right here, and of course, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be catching you guys in the next video. CorruptYT, signing out.